What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
I'm just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people. You want to get
Subscribe right now.
subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
I have something funny to share with you.
Does this relate to me doing Pilates?
No, I think it's actually a little bit funnier, and it fits well into our podcast.
You would be quite surprised at how funny looking I was
I
trying
bet.
to do Pilates in a. It was a. I will let you get into your spiel, but yeah. So did Pilates. Kay convinced me to go do it. Class of 20 women. I'm the one guy. This woman walks in. She's the instructor. She's going through the roll. She goes, Steven, like a boy's name? And I'm like, hi. She goes, this is your first time? I've never seen you here. She goes, what gave it away? She goes, well, you're a guy. So, and I'm like, well, there you go. She goes, let me guess. Girl next to you convinced you to do this? She said, yeah. Let me guess again. Did you play football in high school? Yeah. She goes, oh, this is going to suck for you. So it was fucking brutal, dude. I did not eat nearly enough today, and I was lightheaded afterwards. That shit like ruins your legs. Like my legs actually like hurt. I couldn't walk.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Oh no, I'll be all right. Tomorrow I'm gonna be hella sore. But that was something. Like I've never experienced anything like Pilates in my entire life. But
Oh, good for
apparently,
you.
like, yeah, it was good. Sorry, your spiel.
Yeah, mine's gonna be way funnier. So,
Here we go.
a member of a kid of a member today, I guess, played 9 holes at Long Island National, and they didn't tell me who the member's son was. But I'm just gonna read the hole and the score. And for those of you who are listening, score is in quotation marks. Hole 1, 5. Hole 2, 8. Hole 3, fuck you. Hole 4, fuck you. Hole 5, 7, and then it says like fucker underneath it.
Is this on the scorecard?
Yeah, it's on the scorecard.
Can I see the scorecard?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Hole 6.
No, show it to the people. We need this viewed. Oh, all right. It's on a photo. Okay, we will post that scorecard though to our account so everyone can see that. That's hilarious. He literally wrote "fuck you."
Yeah, literally, and then like hole 6, it says like back to fucking T with a 3 next to it. Hole 7, fuck you. Hole 8, 7. Hole 9, 4. Final score, fuck you.
That's horrible, dude. No, I had a really bad moment the other day. I'm playing a skins match with a couple of friends, and I don't know what was going through my head. We were playing out a timber, and I had about like a 25-foot putt, and the slope looked like way heavier than I thought it was. But I'm like, it's a municipal golf course. Like there's no way the slope can be that crazy. But I lined the ball up anyways to what I think the slope would be, and I thought if I hit it to a certain spot, it would literally just trickle down towards the hole. I was completely off. It did not go at all. I aimed about 3 cups to the right. It did not break whatsoever. I said, how is that possible? And my friends made fun of me, and I had one of those like mental moments where I'm like, you fucking moron, like you knew better and you still did it. And I tried so hard to not chuck my putter, and what did I do? I like swung like a bat, and it still managed to fling out of my hand. And it tombstones on the side of the green, right off the back edge, and it's just tombstone. And I'm like, oh fuck me. So then I'm there doing the walk of shame over. I pull it out. I grab a tee. I'm like filling in the marks that I fucking. Oh, it was so bad. That was one of the worst like moments of my life. I don't have those crazy blow ups, but when I do, it never looks good for me. Then again, it could be worse. On the walk off the course, on a trash can right by the 18th hole, there were 3 Tacoma irons snapped in half.
Oh my god!
I'm like, mother of God, you probably spent like $1,000 on those irons, and like they were like nice irons. It was like a 9, a 6, and like a 4. Like you actually need those things. Oh, so porous.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's get into the golf because I gotta eat dinner.
Oh, I just crushed a Chipotle bowl that was probably
Nobody cares.
18 pounds overweight on me. It was terrific.
What's going on, everybody? This episode of the Get in the Hole podcast is brought to you by our friends over at Acorn Hills. And as the great Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, the creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn. Acorn Hills Company would like to add, it is what one does with that acorn that creates a better tomorrow, to the end of that quote. Nate, amazing guy. It was awesome meeting Nate when we first brought Acorn Hills on board and they got on board with us. The founder of Acorn Hills puts ink to the paper of this story with a vision he saw for a better tomorrow through clothing. As an outdoorsman himself, Nate set out to combine his two passions, looking good and the great outdoors, whatever that activity may be, by providing things such as biodegradable packaging and plantable clothing tags, which, if you haven't heard, are basically the coolest idea ever. We pay homage to our Acorn logo by practicing what we preach. Along with this, Acorn Hills focuses on giving back to its community by taking the initiative to help revitalize forests and areas of land that fill this great place we call Earth. With a percentage of sales donated to charities and organizations such as the National Forest Foundation and others that align with these goals, we create this better tomorrow. People have asked, why choose clothing? It's simple, really. When you look good, you feel good, and when you feel good, you do good. We just help you get there. Although Nate may have been alone when he started this, our roots now run very deep. You'll never look at acorns the same way again, huh? You're welcome. You guys can go to acornhillsco.com. Check out all the awesome apparel and merchandise they have available to you. And when you go to checkout, use code GITH15. That's GITH15 for 15% off your next order from our friends at Acorn Hills. And look your best from the ground up. Now, let's get back into the episode.
Hello, friends. Welcome in. It's a great day at Chick-fil-A. I mean, on the podcast this week, and the Get in the Hole podcast, Steve McAvoy, Ben Pirro here with you. Tried to make a good joke, completely just sailed over, and Ben's giving me some dirty side-eye. We're coming to you live from the underground part of the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you can get a hold of us, bringing you all the news, analysis, betting tips from across the golfing world. Nothing today except for the PGA Tour, though, because we have something really important going on. The 124th United States Open. We're going to Pinehurst, North Carolina, for what is setting up to be one of the probably most challenging U.S. Opens of all time, according to many. But before we get into all the news for golf the last week and leading up to this week, we want to shout out our awesome merch partners over at PHI Apparel Co., providing unique designs and high-quality clothing from T-shirts to hoodies for every golfer around. With our original designs for all, there's no doubt you'll stand out on the course, the range, or at the 19th hole. Go to phiapparel.co and use code UNDERGROUND at checkout for 10% off any order. That's any order, 10% off using code UNDERGROUND at phiapparel.co. Be sure to get your exclusive Get in the Hole podcast merch and support your favorite golfers, me and Ben, today. We're also sponsored by the good folks over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small match eyewear in the industry. Founded on Long Island, run by some of the biggest personalities in sports, including Chris Hogan, Kyle Harrison, John Jay, and Paige Baranek. Tomahawk Shades is guaranteed to keep you looking fresh from the first hole to the 18th green and beyond. Head to TomahawkShades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app on the App Store or Google Play Store and browse their selections of sunglasses, blue light plus glasses, and prescription lenses. Be sure to use code USP for 25% off your next order at TomahawkShades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app. Once again, Steve McAvoy, Ben Pirro here. You can find us on social. You can find Ben on Instagram at BC Pirro. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Real Steve McAvoy. We jump in to the news this week before we lead into the 124th U.S. Open. with what else is new, another Scottie Scheffler victory. It's like death, taxes, and Scottie Scheffler winning golf tournaments. You know that in 7 of the last 12 weeks, Scottie Scheffler has either been arrested, produced a baby, or won a golf tournament. That's literally that's the news. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. 5 wins on the year. To put into perspective how good he's done, the last time we had a 5-event winner on tour that didn't include the playoffs was Tiger Woods back in 2001. And to boot, I was getting curious because Scottie's run only has lasted from 2022 to now, when I forget what his first big win was. I believe it was the Waste Management. And he's managed to win 11 tournaments in the matter of 2 years. To put that into perspective, to get to 11 career victories, it took Jordan Spieth 7 years, took Jason Day 12 years, took Adam Scott 12, Justin Thomas 6, and Rory McIlroy 12. And Scottie Scheffler has done it all in 2 years. He's now tied with Jon Rahm, Justin Rose, and Sergio Garcia on the all-time wins list for active players in the golf space. The next person up would be Jordan Spieth with 13, as well as Jason Day with 13. Very well can see Scottie Scheffler break that 13-win mark by the end of this year. But edges out Colllin Morikawa, mixed the putt on 18, about a 10-footer. Scottie Scheffler went into yesterday's round, into the 72nd hole. He had made only one putt from further than 10 feet away the entirety of the week and still managed to win. An absolute masterclass, once again, from Scottie Scheffler, who, when asked, like, is golf hard? He's like, yeah, it's incredibly hard. But, like, how he's doing it, I honestly, it's beyond me. This is getting crazy.
Yeah, look, I mean, golf is one of those games where it's very hard. It's a very difficult game. There are a lot of variables for sure. When it's not going well, it can feel really hard. But when it's going well, it can feel really easy. And I think the game right now feels very easy for Scottie, and he's out there and he didn't blow the field away in anything statistically, with the exception of strokes gained approach to the green and greens in regulation, where he ranked both first. He ranked first in both those categories. Look, like putting, although he wasn't lighting up the field in putting, he leading to going into 18, he'd only made one putt outside 10 feet the whole week. He still finished 22nd in strokes gained putting, which that just means that he had commanded. He was making all of his short putts. He wasn't 3-putting most likely. So that's, and especially at a course like Muirfield Village, where the greens are incredibly fast, undulating, just difficult greens to putt on. That's really, especially, by the way, with the weather being what it was the last 2 rounds, his speed control, his cadence was phenomenal. It really was amazing. Strokes gained off the tee, he was good enough. He finished 18th in that category. Strokes gained around the green, he lost over a shot, finishing 35th. So definitely he left something a little bit to be desired there for sure. But at the end of the day, like, I think he's like we said, he's by far and away the best player on the PGA Tour in the world, and he's easily the betting favorite for another major. And I would not be surprised at all if he's the one holding the trophy at the end of the day. I really wouldn't. And to be honest, like at Pinehurst in particular, it's not like there's rough at Pinehurst. It's a bunch of pitching areas, and that can get a little bit dicey for sure, because guys are hitting so many shots from around the greens, and throughout the week you can get some bad lies just from where the club hit the ground and stuff like that over and over and over. But it's a lot easier to hit pitch shots and chip shots from the fairway than the rough. So I wouldn't even read too far into that stat, because most of the greens around Jack's place are surrounded by thick rough, where Pinehurst it just isn't. So, and look, like, I'm sure he's going to go to Pinehurst and he'll be back to putting the way he normally putts, and I'm sure he'll have a good week. And look, the fairways are huge there too, so he's definitely in form, to say the least. And it's going to be, this, like we've been saying, the sky's the limit. It's just how high can this guy go?
And it's kind of crazy too, because if you look at his progression throughout the week, particularly, was gaining upwards of 6 strokes tee to green in rounds 1 and 2, had back-to-back pretty solid rounds, 67, 68, and then went on, I think, shot 71, and then shot like a 73, I think, in the final round. Like, was playing essentially what is par golf. He gained on average 3.58 strokes per round, where he very clearly let up essentially in the final 2 rounds, let guys like Colllin Morikawa build his way up. I think Colllin had a 4-stroke deficit going into Sunday and managed to extend it all the way to 18. But this is another one of those examples where I think not only was Scottie so good, but also a player like Colllin, who had a birdie probability rate of about 7. He only made 3 birdies. So when you look at it that way, this really was a Colllin Morikawa lost the race and was trying to move like the hare, and Scottie moved like the tortoise, slow and steady, won the race, kept it easy, didn't get too far in his head. The wild thing amongst all of this with Scottie Scheffler too, that we keep on harping on, is when he made the putter change 7 or 8 weeks ago. All of a sudden, it was, wow, we go from the blade to the mallet, and every putting woe from Bay Hill on is completely gone. The putting has actually decreased over the last 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know what it's necessarily been. I mean, maybe the residual effects of having a child and getting put into a jail cell for 3 hours might still be rusting on him. But he's still the number 1 player in the world around the green. He's the number 1 player in the world on approach. He's a top 10 player in driving accuracy, and he drives the ball a fucking mile and a half. Everything about his game is so perfectly on the upswing, and particularly when you translate it, we'll talk more about it, but a course like Pinehurst, where you can get a little erratic and you can still play your game pretty well. The only question mark, in my opinion, and I'll ask you this now as we kind of segue in and see who will fit at the U.S. Open, those domed greens, not something that anybody is particularly used to on the PGA Tour, obviously. Is that going to create some sort of a dichotomy when it comes to who's going to succeed on the greens and who's not?
I think so. Pinehurst more than several years ago, probably 5 years ago now, they hosted the USAM, and there was an instructor who was at the course that we played out of when I was at Xavier, and he went to the USAM, and he was kind of like scouting the course and looking around, and the landing areas on those greens are incredibly small, and they're made so effectively small because of how relentless the undulation is on and around the greens. You have to be incredibly precise. And so if you're really good with your approach play out there, and if you're putting yourself in good spots off the tee and stuff, because look, like, just because the fairways there are wide, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're easy to hit, because that is very much a link style golf course now. And a lot of the fairways will tend to run out into bunkers or into waste areas. So that's important to note. But whoever is hitting their irons the best next week, or really this week, is going to have the best chance to win, because they'll be leaving themselves with the best looks to make pars and birdies. Now, look, like, this is the type of course where it's a little bit different than any other U.S. Open course because they don't really have rough, right? But exactly. It's still going to challenge every single part of your game, because just because you're pitching off the fairway and chipping off the fairway grass, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an easy shot, because of how much undulation. Grain plays a huge factor, especially this time of year in North Carolina. Grain is such an incredibly big factor. They're chipping into the grain versus down grain, across grain, whatever. So to answer your question, Steve, I do think a little bit has to do with, like, you have to be a good putter going into this week, but you have to put yourself in position. And if you're not putting yourself in position, you're going to be hanging on for dear life at that course.
I think it's good now to segue in. We do have a segment previous to this. We'll kind of explain that, and we'll jump into it after we get into this. But breaking down the actual the effects of the golf course and what it's going to take to win at Pinehurst is really going to be something that we need to carefully manicure and dig into. So as you had noted, of course, there isn't really. It's all right. I say this not to equate it to Augusta National because Augusta doesn't really have rough, but it's the way the grass is mowed that essentially creates the rough. But it's so well manicured that even if it hits the rough, it isn't like the ball's going to stop. It isn't like your traditional, let's say 2 or 3 years ago when we played at Torrey Pines, where the rough was that thick. You're dealing with essentially it all runs off, it runs forever, and a lot of these waste areas, I believe, are native. So it isn't even like you can operate very strongly if you don't keep the ball in the middle of the fairway. Some of the things that typically when you win here, good driving percentage, meaning your accuracy, your distance, your ability to actually find the fairway, they're baked out. That's simply put as it is. And like you said, it's the pinpoint golfer that's going to be able to find success here. It isn't even a matter of strokes gained putting. It's the ability to at least find the green. If you look at the last 3 times that Pinehurst has hosted the U.S. Open, I believe it was 99, which was Payne Stewart, I think, won at 1 under. Forgot who it was. Was it Mark Campbell? Eric Campbell? Not Eric Campbell. Michael Campbell. He won an even par in 05. And then, like, Martin Kamer is the one exception. Keimer, sorry. He won at 9 under in a wire-to-wire win when I'm pretty sure it rained all 3 days leading into Sunday. So had really simple conditions, went wire to wire, shot like back-to-back, I think 65s, and it only got hard towards the back end of the week. We're going to see a golf course that, as Wyndham Clark described it, the greens are borderline. Shane Lowry, he duffed his wedge and he said, I forgot how fucking hard this place is. Like, these guys are actually like living it. We might see for the first time in I can't tell you how long an even par winner at a major. Like, we're not going to see even a 5 under score, a 4 under score. It's going to be a very challenging course. When it comes to victory, or aside from, of course, the pinpoint accuracy to the green, the really good driving percentages, is there anything that, and by the way, there's not going to be an inch of rain, an ounce of rain the entirety of the week. So these are going to be baked out, lightning fast. If they're already running at a 1450, and I can only imagine what's going to happen by the time it's Saturday. They've said the Greens team at Pinehurst is going to have a really tough week with trying to even make it playable. I think the superintendent said that there's definitely going to be some pitching and moaning, but at the end of the day, it's the U.S. Open, so what are you going to do? But what else is it going to take? Not even to win, but I guess you could say to chase down Scottie Scheffler, considering everything that you need to do well, he's been doing well.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's going to have to be – sorry, someone just texted me. I just lost my train of thought. Look, at the end of the day, this is the type of course that you're going to have – there's always potential for fireworks because these are the best players in the world. Now, this is the type of course where you can make some very big numbers. Anyone who has the overall just high level of consistency will have a chance come Sunday. I don't see anybody running away with it because there's not really a whole lot much more I can add because you did a really good job of just, you're welcome, of just talking about the course. I mean, here's the thing, you hit the nail on the head because at the end of the day, this is the type of course where it's going to be so firm and so fast. Like, this is probably a bad example. It's going to be so fast that someone like Tiger Woods is going to have a really difficult time because he's not really a good putter anymore. So, Joe, just for like reference, when you have firm and fast greens, you need someone who can hit all the shots going into the greens, has some creativity, because you won't always be able to land the ball on the green at times. If you're coming out of a bunker or out of the native area, or even if you're just straight downwind and, potentially, the fairway slopes down towards the green, that could be very difficult. So that's going to require some creativity into the greens. As far as on the greens, though, I think it was like ESPN Sports Science did this really good study. The faster the green, like how solid do you have to hit the ball? And traditionally, the best putters in the world are great on fast greens because they hit it so solidly. You heard me earlier in the episode talking about cadence. Well, okay, so what is cadence? Cadence is essentially the time that the rhythm and the timing of the stroke that you make. How consistent is that? And so when you have a good cadence and when you are consistent, that allows for your speed control to be top notch. And that's what this comes down to. These guys, they're going to read the greens fine. You know, these guys are the best players in the world. Their caddies are really good at reading greens, and also they're really good at reading greens. But it's being able to just understand, like, I got a 4-footer right here, and I got to play it a cup out. And you have to accept that. And not only do you have to accept it, you have to hit that putt really solidly because the greens are so fast. If you hit a little off the toe, a little off the heel, a little bit thin, the ball could certainly just go offline. And it could dive underneath the hole, and not even get to the hole on a longer putt. And so whoever is the most consistent, whoever has the best week putting, I truly believe, like, someone, and I'm not just saying this because he's been playing really well the last month, Colllin Morikawa has a legitimate chance to win this event. He's not the most physically gifted golfer. I think that's pretty obvious just watching the difference in just the physical traits between he and Xander that final round of the PGA. He's not going to blow you out of the water with his just physical ability. But he is a fantastic putter, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And look, when he's not putting well, do you ever really see him 3-putt, Steven?
Never.
Because I don't. You know, he might not make every single putt, but he doesn't have anything more than 12 inches. And when you're hitting 12 greens, 14 greens, whatever it is, you're going to have really good looks, and eventually they're gonna translate and they're gonna fall. So I think he's someone to keep an eye out for. Obviously, look, Xander just won the last major. He's obviously someone to keep an eye on. I'm a little bit surprised that the odds boards were not there yet, but like, why Bryson's so high? He's not that great of a putter. That kind of perplexes me a little bit. But you need to be a great putter this week, and you have to putt the ball well. So, look, I'm sitting on my couch. You guys are playing the U.S. Open, so how worthwhile is this advice? Who knows? They probably know more than I do. Certainly know more than I do. You better be good into the greens, and you better be good on the greens. Those are the two keys to this week.
So we know the keys. We understand what it's going to take to win this event. I'm curious because last week was something that, again, we mentioned how Colllin got edged. He didn't make enough birdies down the stretch. Sepp Straka got demolished on Sunday. Was not expecting what he was going to have. On top of that, we had a bunch of guys who are high up on the odds board. The odds board this week is very strange. First of all, to Scottie Scheffler's credit, he's the only person. I think there's only been 11 times when a golfer has been better than plus 400 to win a major. I believe 10 of those times have been Tiger Woods. Now it's Scottie Scheffler plus 300, and then just the fucking field. There's a lot of guys who are still high up on the odds board, though, who did not have very strong weeks this past week at Jack's Place. Justin Thomas finished in the 40s. Cameron Young finished second to last. Justin Rose did not play particularly well either. Will Zalatoris still battling the injury bug, probably T41 at plus 8. JT and Homa pushed their way into the 20s, didn't make a top 20. Corey Connors and Tommy Fleetwood barely snuck in. Corey Connors actually was almost on the 54-hole lead going into the weekend, and totally blew it on Saturday. Wyndham Clark, Ricky Fowler, Justin Rose, Patrick Cantlay all missed the cut. Are we going to read at all into the difficulties of Jack's Place comparative to Pinehurst? Is it just a more difficult version of what we saw last week, or is it a whole different beast?
Look, I mean, Jack's course, one thing to know about any course that he designs, historically, Jack, he was very long off the tee, but he was not very straight. So the fairways are very big at Muirfield Village. But the greens are always very difficult. And when you have difficult undulating greens with thick rough, which is that's what that course has, plus the difficulty of the weather conditions that those guys faced over the last 36 holes. I mean, there's a reason it was so difficult. There's a reason why the guy who's by far the best player in the world only made one birdie in the final round. That's it. Only one birdie. Now, that's all he needed to make, but still, there's a reason for that. And so, look, all those players that you named, yes, they are some of the bigger faces in the game of golf. The Homas, the JTs, what have you, the Cam Youngs. Every single one of those players, though, they have a hole in their game relative to relative to the guys on tour, not to the average Joe, but rather relative to their peers. Like let's just call it how it is. Like Justin Rose, he's had a little bit of a return to form, but the last couple of years he's been completely irrelevant. Cam Young, he hasn't really been able to close. And we're literally at all, and we're waiting for him to win. Someone like Zalatoris, I mean, yes, Will is very talented, but he's hurt a lot, and he's not a good putter. That is a significant hole, especially when you're going to a course where putting is probably the most important stat. I rarely say that because usually it's driving, but given those conditions at Pinehurst, I don't like his odds next week at all. And then, with JT, it's really just a lack of consistency. I think he's shown good signs, but it's like he's very much up and down. He almost actually mimics his best friend Jordan Spieth in that category, just because they're very up and down players. They're very emotional players, and that's not a bad thing, but their highs are very high and their lows can be really low. And so those are someone might say, well, that's not really a hole. Well, yeah, it is. When you have a roller coaster, when your game can be a roller coaster at times, that can be incredibly difficult once the pressure gets higher, like at a major championship at Pinehurst. So, look, I would not be surprised if those guys had really good weeks, all the ones that you named, but there's a reason why Scottie is by far and away, what is he, plus 300? Is that what you said? Yeah, plus 300. Like, for the betting man, there's really not a whole lot of value there either. Like, there's a reason why. It's because the holes that he has, okay, he didn't make a lot of putts last week. But he also didn't 3-putt very much at all if he did. There's a reason why he was so high up in putting still without making a putt outside of 10 feet, except one time going into the 72nd hole. There's a reason for that. He doesn't really have a lot of holes. And so it's like one of those things, like it used to be, you going with Tiger or the field. And that right now it's gotten to the point where it's like, it's Scottie or the field. Who are you taking? It's a coin flip. It really is.
So the incredible part, as you mentioned this, Scottie Scheffler is now the only player in PGA Tour history, according to LIVGolf, to have an index above a 3. The only other person is Tiger Woods. In that 2000-2001 season, he had a LIVGolf index, which, by the way, is based on your performances relative to the average PGA Tour field, and it's in units per strokes gained. His is plus 3.89 that year. Scottie right now is at a 311. 2 more wins, and he will be better than Tiger Woods of all time. And this is when Tiger Woods won 11 times, and we're talking about if Scottie wins twice more. Like it's getting to a certain level where it makes sense why the odds-on favorite is plus 300 comparative to everybody else, because the one hole, like you said, is still the putter, but the putter is still gaining him 2.5 strokes on the course. With that being said, let's get right into the fun stuff, the beer money picks, because we have a lot to break down betting wise. There's a lot of different moving pieces as we get ready for the U.S. Open. I want to give a shout out to our folks over at Kenwood Beer for sponsoring, of course, our beer money every week. Who's Kenny? He's smooth, he's clean, he's bright with a taste of boot. Kenny's the routine choice of folks who want a balanced, flavorful, no frills beer that is right for any occasion. Only 120 calories and 8 grams of carbs. Some call it the best light beer they ever had. some say, or we say, you just can't beat the original. Head to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to find where you can get your hands on some ice cold Kenwood beer. And let's get right on into the good stuff. So this week we've already kind of broken down the metrics that are going to matter the most. But the question now is, who are the guys who are going to get us to making all the money? We start off with the guys who are going to make the cut this week. A lot of choices, 156-man field, loaded field, a lot of really good. By the way, from our last show, and it's great, but it comes at a price. Due to the passing of Grayson Murray, a spot opened up in the top 60. So the 61st player is getting into the U.S. Open field. Do you know who that is?
Scott.
Adam Scott. 24 consecutive years of major tournament golf will not end at the U.S. Open for Adam Scott. To make the cut this week, who are you taking for your money?
Okay. So to make the cut, look, like, I don't really know how I feel about this pick right here. I might get criticized for it. This guy, he finished second here in 2014, tied for second. Now, granted, it was very much a backdoor because Martin Keimer blew away the field. But that being said, he has a very, his recent play on tour has left a lot to be desired, I feel like, especially at Muirfield Village. I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler to make the cut. He's pretty low on the odds boards, but I feel like with his understanding of the golf course and how to play it, as evidenced by finishing tied for second, I'm going to have to go with Ricky.
There are certain things about betting on majors that I always kind of sway away from, and I hate taking guys who don't have course experience and not even course, there isn't even a matter of course experience because half the field has never played at Pinehurst, but the idea of guys who don't have experience playing in U.S. Opens. However, I'm going to go out on a limb because the metrics actually fit his game almost perfectly, with the exception he can be a little erratic off the tee. But again, the ball's going to run forever. I'm going to ride with Austin Eckroat to make the cut. A very strong player this year, first full year on tour, has been a lights-out player at times, has shown flashes in the pan. And I really do think that he is on a climb. He won at one point this year to get him into the U.S. Open field. I'm going to ride with Austin Eckroat to make the cut this week. How would your pick to miss the cut?
Boy, all right. I hate to say this, but yes, I do. I like Tiger.
Oh boy.
Tiger's done so much. I have zero problems with Tiger.
I didn't realize you were gonna pick him.
Oh, who'd you think I was gonna pick?
I don't know. So Rory.
No, this is serious business because I'm 3 down in this beer money challenge to you still. I'm trying to keep pace. No, I got to be honest. It's going to be Tiger. I just think my reasoning is going back to what I said earlier. He's not the putter that he once was. And that's going to separate the contenders from the pretenders this week. Do I think he could have some highlights because it's Tiger Woods? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, he's, like I said, he's not the putter he was. He hits it good enough, he does. He hits it good enough, but at the end of the day, he's not healthy. He never will be healthy ever again. And when you have someone whose back can just spasm literally at any time, literally in the middle of a swing, and on top of that, they're no longer the putter that they used to be, I can't really see you going to a place that is so firm, so fast, with the weather conditions being what they're going to be, which is incredibly hot.
Mm-hmm.
How is he going to feel comfortable? I can't. Steven, if I told you those characteristics, you'd be like, yeah, there's no way he's going to feel comfortable. There's no way.
And also no amount of material that they come out with the Sunday red line is going to keep him from sweating buckets. He's gonna He's going to be a puddle. Like, it's going to be horrible.
He is going to give Lucas Glover a run for his money in that department. But yeah, I hate to be that guy, but because I know I picked him to miss the cut in the PGA, but that's just how I feel. This course does not fit his game at all. It doesn't.
It's really interesting. My pick to miss the cut is another big time name. Not necessarily is a lot more in a different form than Tiger Woods is, but I was watching the Live Houston event and I saw something very interesting. I saw Jon Rahm take a tee shot on a par 3 and something looked off. And
he got hurt.
The last 4 weeks, I've been looking at Jon Rahm, and I was just saying to myself, like, he regrets his decision to go to Live. He's like the reverse Rory. He didn't want to go to Live, I don't think. I think he went to Live to try and change it and try and be the guy where, well, if Rory's not going to go to Live and try and make amends here, I might as well do it as a top 5 player in the world. Jon Rahm has more questions about his game right now than answers, and I'm very concerned with his current state of affairs. On top of the fact that he very much looks injured, considering he withdrew shortly after that shot. I think Jon Rahm misses the cut here and really starts to reevaluate what's wrong with his golf game. I'm not even necessarily concerned about what the deal is. Like, he didn't show up today to the grounds of Pinehurst. He's apparently not going to show up till late tomorrow afternoon. So something's up. I don't know what it is, but I was between Zalatoris and Jon Rahm, but this reaffirms to me that Jon Rahm is not making the cut this week. And it's kind of a shame because as somebody as good as he is, I want to see him in the hunt. But his last 4 weeks of golf has not been inspiring in the slightest. Top 20s to go. So,
well, Steve, just to point out, he's currently, like, this time last year, if I had said to you Jon Rahm is barely inside the top 10 on the odds boards to win, you would have thought I was insane. You would have said, Ben, what kind of drugs are you taking? There's no way Jon Rahm is barely inside the top 10 of the odds boards. He's 9th. This time last year, we would have never thought that. And I wouldn't say that he maybe, I don't know, this could be a discussion for another day. I don't know if he necessarily regrets it, but you're right. He doesn't really look right, and he hasn't really played that well. I have it sourced that Bryson has been speaking to someone who's been on the PGA Tour for a very long time, saying how he would love that he wants everything just to get back together, essentially. Yeah. And a lot of those guys feel the same way. That's very well sourced by one of our sources, and he might. I think he you know what, you might be right. He might actually potentially regret it, regardless though. So he has not been in good form at all. It'll be interesting to see how he plays. I hope he's fine, but the sport's always better the sport's always better when he's good, you know.
We're actually getting some breaking news reports right now from 10 Golf, which is a Spanish-based golf source on Twitter, saying that he probably actually won't even make the grounds on Tuesday either. So Jon Rahm's not going to have a practice round until Wednesday. Not a good leave for somebody as good as Jon Rahm. And look, the numbers for him, at least over the last 4 weeks, the last month at least, he missed the cut of Valhalla, shot a 70-72, 1 under round. He finished 45th at the Masters. Yes, he's played fine in his live events. But again, you got to take these events with a grain of salt comparative to the course he's playing and the field he's playing against. Jon Rahm to finish 10th is not the most impressive thing in the world. But again, a withdrawal through 12 holes this past week after shooting a first round 69 1 under. Again, something seems to be up. Won't have a practice round until Wednesday if he even plays. He apparently has a infection in his foot of some sort that started as a cut between his toes. Not good. You honestly, with that being said, he might not even play this week. In which case, I'm probably going to have to X-day my missed the cut pick and supplement it with somebody else. Which honestly, I'm gonna throw a name out there. It's probably going to be Jordan Spieth. But that's my take right there. Top 20s. Let's get into that.
Okay, so top 20. I'm not going to say this. I don't think the odds, whoever creates these odds boards, they don't give this guy enough credit. He's at plus 400 for a top 20, and he just finished like third, I believe, at the Memorial. Adam Hadwin.
Yeah. Love
I
that.
think that there's some great value there. It's plus 400 for Adam Hadwin, who's a good putter as it is, and has like, look, he's not like Scottie level, but he's really, really good, and he's been a mainstay on tour for a long time. It's a shame he hasn't won more. I think that number one, there's great value there, but I also feel like he's a shoo-in for a top 20 because he's so good. He's really good on and around the greens.
Yeah, so he actually like talk about like a case study. Over the last what is it? It's 5 weeks. I'm gonna pull up Adam Hadwin's results. Like you could very clearly say he's probably the most underrated Canadian amongst the Canadian group. I think Nick Taylor gets a little bit too much love over him. Adam Hadwin, while he hasn't had the best go of things dating back to the Masters, this past week, though, at the Memorial was top 5 in every shooting category that you could have. He missed the cut at the RBC Canadian Open. He missed a 10-footer to make the cut, and he missed it by a hair. He very well would have made it. Another name that actually stands out to me that I thought about for a top 20 was his counterpart to finish 4th, Christian Bezuidenhout. But just for the matters of the U.S. Open, I simply can't go out on a limb and take somebody who's not as good with the putter as he is. Odds aren't as good here, but for a top 20, a plus 240, I like Siwoo Kim a lot. Really good accuracy player, really good approach player. He's currently top 5 on the PGA Tour for the year in strokes gained approach, which is going to be a huge metric here to follow. He's also top 25 in bogey avoidance, or 12th in bogey avoidance, which again, most of my picks at this point are going to be largely based around that metric. The ability to just simply make par and move on. If we see a winning score of 1 under par, I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. Top 10.
All right, top 10. This is going to be tough for me, but I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood. He's at plus 300 odds. This course, look, logic behind this is pretty simple. He had some success at Shinnecock in 18. Whenever it was last held at Shinnecock. He had some success. He had kind of a backdoor second place finish, tied for second place finish. Overall, he's a very good iron player. He's really good on the greens, and there's good value there at plus 300. I could totally see Tommy Fleetwood playing really well. I really could.
Another really good name in the bogey avoidance category. He certainly fits up there quite well. Top 10 for me. I mean, I was going to take him for. I probably still should take him for my gimme because it's literally death taxes. Xander Schauffele top 10. But the 120 value number really isn't that great. I'm gonna go with. I want to see what's his bogey avoidance number. That's gonna really be the key metric for me. All right, I'm sold. Tony Finau for a top 10 at plus 500. I'm gonna one up you ever so slightly. Finau's been so good putting and on approach so far this year. I think he'll be a interesting play. Again, top 25 in that bogey avoidance category where we love to harp on that. Top 5.
All right. So, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one for me. It's between two guys, both of whom have been rounding into form at the right time. At plus 360, I'm going to go with Victor Hovland in his quest to get a bigger contract than Cam Smith when he inevitably jumps to live. I am sticking to that. He is literally out there trying to say, I cannot believe you gave Cam Smith all that money. Now you have to pay up. I truly believe that.
He wants to jump so he can get out of the Jay Lindeberg contract. He wants to wear all black every single day. That's his ultimate request. Top 5 for me. God, I have like 7 names currently like on a pin board. Like it looks like a homicide board, like just like pins and like yarn everywhere, trying to pinpoint who's going to win this week. One of those names is on there, but I'm going to have to take him for a top 5 instead. Plus 320, Colllin Morikawa, his 4th consecutive top 5 finish will come at Pinehurst, but unfortunately will not be enough to earn the victory. He's going to come up 1 or 2 strokes short. Your gimme pick before we get into that big winner. Who are you taking?
Def Taxis and Xander Schauffele will finish top 5.
So top 5. I love it.
Well, like, I mean,
the number's top 10, but yeah.
Wait, you can't. Well,
no.
Plus 240. He's at plus 240 to finish top 5.
No, I'm saying the Def Taxis number is like I think top 10.
Oh, okay.
But
dude, he always finishes top 5, man. Come on.
That's true. No, while Xander finishes top 5 or top 10 all the time, I'm gonna go Def Taxis, Corey Connors top 20. That thing's cashed so many fucking times. Corey Connors, believe it or not, and this is probably the coolest thing it's weird. Every single time I harp on someone's one thing they can't do right, they always do it right. Corey Connors can't putt. He's 5th right now in the last 6 weeks in putting. Denny McCarthy can't play anything but the putter. He's top 10 in stroke gain approach this year. Corey Connors is number 2 right now on stroke gain approach and is like a 0.06 better than the field. Granted, Scottie Scheffler is like 0.6 full ahead of him. And then bogey avoidance, Corey Connors is top 5 as well. So like Connors is a sick bet. Love this guy to death. Has finally figured out the putter.
Dude, it's because they're listening to. They must be listening to you listening to us on the pod. That
they
must
be.
Yeah.
Corey Connors hearing this and saying, "Steve, like you and I are both big guys. I got to do better for you." Most likely, is probably the scenario. The winner of the 124th United States Open, Benjamin Pirro.
Okay, look. Before I say this, for the sake of this exercise that we're doing, I am not going to pick Scottie Scheffler because I am a man of the people, and I want the people who look to us for their gambling endeavors to know that there is not much value there in picking Scottie Scheffler to win. Now, in my heart of hearts, he's going to win. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm going with someone who you just talked about. I believe you just picked him to finish top 5. Colllin freaking Morikawa, baby. See, my mom's in the background.
I heard it. I love it.
He heard you. It's going to be his week. Let me tell you something, Steven. Plus 1,500 odds to win. And to some people, that might be daunting. But for the sake of this exercise and the fact that this guy cannot finish outside the top 5, before the PGA, this man is due. I am beating the table for Colllin Morikawa. I love his putting stroke. He doesn't blow you away physically, and you don't have to at this course. He doesn't make mistakes, and he's going to go out there, and he is going to poo-poo all over your top 5 finish for what you think he's going to do. I believe that 100%.
All I know is that whether or not he wins and he finishes top 5, I still got a point. So I really don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm I'm gonna host a seance after this to try and manifest me to not do this. So first of all, I want to tell you right now that I have placed a bonus bet on Scottie Scheffler to win because it's free money. Realistically,
of course.
my guinea pig should have been Scottie Scheffler to win the event. Because how can you not? Again, I had 7 names going into this week for who can win, and I'll rattle those names off to you. One of which being Scottie Scheffler. Xander Schauffele, Colllin Morikawa. I think Bryson can actually pull it out. He isn't the best putter, but he's actually one of the top 10 players in the field putting on Bermuda grass. And the only reason why, and it's the funniest thing, they asked him in an interview recently, they're like, how are you so good at putting on Bermuda? He goes, well, the aim point, plus you look at the hole and you see the frayed part and you're like, oh, all right, it's leaning that way. He just the physics behind it is just so simple to put on Bermuda. Simple, I said in quotes, that he could very well just pull it out. I think he's been number 1 in every driving statistic. He's been number 3 in these past 2 majors, these last 8 rounds of major golf in strokes gained approach. I think Bryson could win. Koepka's always live, but nothing seems to be pointing his direction to give me that inclination. Ludwig Oberg is a sleeper in his first big time professional U.S. Open. I think Fitz has got a shot. Hideki's got a shot. Believe it or not, Cameron Smith actually very well has a good shot. A little erratic off the tee, but can very well get it close and is a tremendous putter. My long shot that might come as a shock to some, I think Sepp Straka's got a really good shot here. Unfortunately, though, there's one name that I know I shat on him too much to begin the year, but for some reason, the metrics seem to kind of push me towards him. I don't want to do this. Yeah,
I feel like I know where you're going with this, and I'm really scared.
He's been creative. He's managed to get in, not on backdoor victories or backdoor top tens. He's fought for his stuff. You've seen him at the latter point of this year so far, firing at pins and trying to win events and trying to reclamate his wrongdoings. I picked him to win the PGA, and it didn't happen. But I think it's very plausible that Rory McIlroy snaps a decade-long drought of no majors. If there's one person in this field who's able to avoid bogeys and can play golf at a blank pace, it's Rory McIlroy comparative to, I think Colllin Morikawa is right there. But part of me's feeling it. The numbers kind of work. Yeah, I think Rory McIlroy is going to win. Although I'm kind of beating myself for saying that, even though I thought he'd be a crazy, underwhelming player of the year. But he won at Quail Hollow. It's similar driving conditions to a degree, with the exception of the rough. The undulations are all fair. He's managed to play well at courses like this. I want to go back and see what he finished at Pinehurst in 2014.
I cannot believe you're picking Rory McIlroy to win this.
I know. I'm doing
so disappointed. I'm
so
very
overly
disappointed.
Stupid. I know.
Remember when I said that you did a great job talking about the course conditions before?
Yeah.
You just, oh gosh, I'm not surprised because you picked him to win the PGA.
You know what? Like, again, I can't reiterate this enough because there's something about the possibility of him playing well enough to win that I'm inclined to side with him. He's, what's the word I'm looking for? There's less pressure on him, arguably, than ever. He doesn't need to win the U.S. Open to complete a major. He's not coming off of a win. He disappointed in the first 2. Like, Rory's not particularly in the league, but between all of his numbers, firm and fast greens have been his bread and butter forever. And yeah, in 2014, Rory was great. It isn't 2024 Rory, but people around PGA camps are saying that there's something about Rory McIlroy at Pinehurst that just kind of makes sense. It's kind of like when Payne Stewart won. Granted, a very different scenario. But I think we very well might see a little bit different of an approach. His equipment is getting better. His layout and his architecture and the way he handles the golf course is getting smarter. In his past 36 rounds, he ranks first in the field in strokes gained total on firm and fast courses. He's 5th in apex height, which is going to help him keep the ball on the green. Like we said, baked out fast greens, you have to literally get it all the way up in the air to plop down and just sit. I think these are going to be his numbers. He's gotten progressively better in each of his starts. He finished T9, T8, T7, T5, finished second. He's trending towards a win. There's a lot of trepidation there, but I think it's more than likely that Rory McIlroy puts up a really solid performance. You know what? If he doesn't win, he's still backdoor top 5s because that's Rory McIlroy. That's just how you do it. Folks, that's going to be the ending of the third major as we come to the 124th. There's a mirror on Getting.
Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time, and remember, get in the hole!